16-year-old Maya Rodriguez stands at a whiteboard covered in complex calculus equations that would make most college students panic. Her classmates are snickering behind her, phones out, ready to capture what they think will be her humiliation. Mr. Harrison, the AP calculus teacher, smugly crosses his arms and delivers his cruel challenge. "Well, Miss Rodriguez, since you think you belong in AP calculus, solve this. Show us what the janitor's daughter can really do." The room falls silent except for the barely contained laughter of privileged teenagers who've never had to fight for anything in their lives. Maya looks at the equation, a complex multivariable calculus problem that even advanced students struggle with. But instead of panic, something else flickers in her eyes. Quiet confidence. She picks up the marker. What happens next will shock everyone in that room. Maya begins solving the equation with methodical precision, her hand moving across the board with the fluency of someone who's been speaking this mathematical language for years. Step by step, she works through the problem, her solution elegant and flawless. In under 2 minutes, she's done. The answer is perfect. But more than that, she's used a method so advanced that even Mr. Harrison hadn't considered it. His smug expression melts into something between shock and disbelief, his mouth slightly open as he stares at the board. But how did we get here? How did the daughter of a janitor just embarrass a 15-year veteran teacher in front of his entire AP class? This is Maya's story, and trust me, it's nothing like what you'd expect. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., while her wealthy classmates are still sleeping in their designer bedsheets, Maya Rodriguez is already awake. In a cramped apartment that could fit inside most of her classmates' walk-in closets, she sits by a small lamp, surrounded by advanced mathematics textbooks. The early morning light filters through thin curtains, illuminating her worn but clean clothes and the calloused hands that come from years of helping her father with manual labor. But look closer at Maya's eyes. They're intelligent, focused, carrying a wisdom that seems far older than her 16 years. While other teenagers are scrolling through social media, Maya is teaching herself calculus, physics, and computer programming using library books and whatever resources she can find online. Her father, Miguel Rodriguez, works 3 jobs to keep them afloat. During the day, he's a construction worker. In the evenings, he cleans office buildings downtown. And at night, from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., he's the janitor at Westfield Prep Academy, the same elite private school where Maya studies during the day, thanks to a partial financial aid scholarship that her father sacrificed everything to help her obtain. Maya's dream burns bright and clear, a full scholarship to MIT. She's done the math, and trust me, this girl can do math. She knows exactly what grades she needs, what test scores she requires, what extracurriculars would set her apart. But there's one massive obstacle in her way. Despite scoring in the 99th percentile on every placement test she's ever taken, Maya finds herself stuck in regular mathematics classes. The reason? What the school administration diplomatically calls placement testing irregularities. What that really means is that someone, somewhere, decided that the janitor's daughter couldn't possibly belong in advanced classes, regardless of what her test scores said. But Maya doesn't know the full truth yet. She doesn't know that her placement wasn't based on her abilities, it was based on assumptions about who she is and where she comes from. While Maya studies in their small apartment, her father Miguel is working the night shift at Westfield Prep, pushing his cleaning cart through empty hallways lined with portraits of distinguished alumni, doctors, lawyers, politicians, all products of generational wealth and privilege. As he cleans each classroom, Miguel often finds discarded textbooks, study guides, and notes left behind by careless students who have no idea how precious these resources are. Miguel Rodriguez wasn't always a janitor. Back in Mexico, he was 2 years into an engineering degree, his future bright with possibility. But life had other plans. Immigration, language barriers, and the harsh reality of starting over in a new country crushed those dreams like paper. Now, every night as he empties trash cans and mops floors, he's surrounded by the education he once dreamed of completing. The sacrifices Miguel makes for his daughter's future are staggering. He works nearly 80 hours a week across his 3 jobs, his hands permanently stained with cleaning chemicals, his back aching from years of labor. He owns exactly 2 sets of work clothes, eats 1 proper meal a day, and hasn't bought himself anything new in over 3 years. Every penny goes toward Maya's education, toward keeping them afloat, toward the dream that his daughter will have the opportunities he never did. When Miguel comes home at 6:30 a.m. and sees Maya studying at their small kitchen table, his chest fills with quiet pride. But he doesn't know the true extent of his daughter's abilities. He doesn't know that while he's cleaning classrooms, Maya has been secretly teaching herself the same advanced mathematics that the wealthy students upstairs pay thousands of dollars for tutors to explain. He doesn't know that his daughter is a genius. Now let me tell you about Richard Harrison, the man who's about to have his world turned upside down by a 16-year-old girl he's already written off. Harrison is a 15-year veteran of Westfield Prep's mathematics department, the kind of teacher who gets profiled in the school's glossy brochures and alumni magazines. He's got the credentials, the experience, and most importantly, the respect of parents who pay $40,000 a year in tuition. Harrison teaches AP Calculus to the cream of the crop. Students who've had private tutors since elementary school, whose parents hired college consultants before they even hit high school, who've never had to question whether they belong in advanced classes. These kids don't just expect to get into Ivy League schools. They expect to get into the Ivy League schools of their choice. But here's the thing about Richard Harrison that makes him dangerous. He genuinely believes he's a good teacher, a fair teacher. He tells himself that his classroom is a meritocracy, that the cream naturally rises to the top. In his mind, the fact that his advanced classes are filled with wealthy students isn't evidence of systemic inequality. It's simply proof that some people are naturally meant for advanced mathematics and others aren't. Harrison's teaching philosophy is simple and, in his mind, logical. Natural talent rises to the top, and some people simply aren't meant for advanced mathematics. He's never had to examine the privilege that assumption carries, never had to consider that maybe, just maybe, talent looks different when it doesn't come with a trust fund and a private tutor. So when Maya Rodriguez accidentally gets placed in his AP Calculus class due to a scheduling error, Harrison doesn't see potential. He doesn't see a brilliant mind that's been systematically excluded from the resources she deserves. He sees a disruption to the natural order, a mistake that needs to be corrected. What Harrison doesn't realize is that he's about to meet someone who will shatter every assumption he's ever made about intelligence, capability, and who deserves a seat at the table. Before we continue with Maya's incredible story, I need to ask you something. If you were in Maya's position, facing a teacher who's already decided you don't belong, what would you do? Would you stay quiet and accept the placement, or would you stand up and prove them wrong? Let me know in the comments below, because Maya's choice is about to change everything. And if you're already invested in finding out how this brilliant young woman handles the challenge ahead, make sure to subscribe and let me know in the comments section from which part of the world are you watching. Because trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. The confrontation that's about to unfold starts with what seems like a simple scheduling mistake. Maya walks into AP Calculus on a Tuesday morning, her worn backpack slung over her shoulder, expecting to head to her regular math class. But the computer system had other plans. Due to a glitch in the scheduling software, Maya Rodriguez finds herself standing in the doorway of the most advanced mathematics class Westfield Prep offers. The moment Richard Harrison sees her, his reaction is swift and dismissive. He doesn't even look up from his gradebook as he waves his hand toward the door. "There's been a mistake," he says with the casual authority of someone who's never been questioned. "You belong in remedial mathematics." The words hit Maya like a slap. Remedial mathematics. Not even regular math, but the class reserved for students who are struggling with basic concepts. Around her, 23 of Westfield's elite students turn to stare, their expensive laptops and designer notebooks suddenly feeling like weapons pointed in her direction. But Maya doesn't leave. Instead, she takes a small step forward, her voice quiet but steady. "Actually, sir, I've been studying calculus. I'd like to stay if that's possible." The classroom erupts in barely suppressed laughter. Harrison's eyebrows shoot up in what might be amusement if it weren't so cruel. Studying and understanding are different things, dear, he says, his voice dripping with condescension. The way he says dear makes it clear he thinks she's a child playing dress-up in a grown-up's world. What Maya doesn't see, but what's happening all around her, is the modern form of public humiliation. Phones are sliding out of pockets, cameras discreetly angling in her direction. Within seconds, several students are recording, already crafting the captions for their social media posts about the janitor's daughter who thinks she belongs in AP Calculus. The whispers start immediately. Oh my God, this is going to be hilarious. Does she even know what calculus is? Maybe she thinks it's like basic algebra or something. Inside Maya's mind, a war is raging. Part of her wants to turn around and walk out to accept Harrison's dismissal and disappear back into the safety of being invisible. She spent years perfecting the art of not standing out, of not drawing attention to herself or her circumstances. But another part of her, the part that's been studying advanced mathematics by lamplight since she was 8 years old, refuses to back down. This is the moment she's been preparing for, without even knowing it. All those years of secret studying, all those nights teaching herself concepts that most students need expensive tutors to understand, all of it has led to this classroom, this teacher, this choice. But Harrison isn't done with his lesson. In his mind, this is a perfect teaching moment, not about mathematics, but about knowing your place. He turns to the whiteboard and begins writing an equation that makes several of his regular students shift uncomfortably in their seats. Since Miss Rodriguez thinks she belongs here, Harrison announces, his voice carrying the theatrical tone of someone who's about to deliver a punchline, perhaps she can enlighten us all. The equation he's written is a monster. It's a complex multivariable calculus problem involving partial derivatives, integration by parts, and trigonometric substitutions. This isn't just advanced high school mathematics. This is the kind of problem that college sophomores struggle with, the kind that even Harrison's best students would need several attempts to solve. The classroom atmosphere shifts from amusement to anticipation. Even the students who were giggling moments before realize they're witnessing something that goes beyond typical classroom drama. This is character assassination disguised as education. This should be entertaining. One student whispers to another, loud enough for Maya to hear. Maybe she can clean the board after, comes another comment, followed by suppressed laughter that cuts through Maya like shards of glass. Maya stares at the equation, but not because she doesn't understand it. She's hesitating because she recognizes exactly what this is, a trap. Harrison has set up a scenario where her failure will be public, humiliating, and permanent. If she can't solve it, she'll be branded as someone who doesn't belong, someone who had the audacity to reach beyond her station. If she walks away, she'll confirm every stereotype Harrison and his students already believe about her. But there's something Harrison doesn't understand about Maya Rodriguez. Her hesitation isn't born from ignorance. It's born from the sudden, terrifying realization that she might actually have to reveal who she really is. Harrison mistakes her silence for confirmation of his assumptions. Don't worry, he says, his voice now openly mocking. There's no shame in admitting you're in over your head. That's when something shifts in Maya's mind. She thinks about her father, working 3 jobs so she can sit in this classroom. She thinks about every textbook she's found in the trash, every concept she's mastered in secret, every night she spent teaching herself what these students pay thousands of dollars to learn. And suddenly, she's 8 years old again, digging through a dumpster behind the university library with her father. They're looking for anything useful. Maybe some furniture someone has thrown away, maybe some clothes that still have life in them. But what Maya finds instead is a calculus textbook, barely damaged except for coffee stains on the cover. Her father tries to explain that it's just a book full of numbers she won't understand for many years. But Maya opens it anyway, and something magical happens. The symbols and equations don't look like gibberish to her. They look like a secret language, one that she's somehow always known how to read. That night, while her father sleeps after his construction shift, 8-year-old Maya teaches herself the fundamentals of differential calculus by flashlight. The memories flood back. Years of midnight study sessions in empty classrooms while her father cleaned around her. The loneliness of being different, of having a mind that works in ways she can't explain to anyone. The exhaustion of hiding her true capabilities behind a mask of average performance. Because standing out meant risking everything. For years, Maya has lived two lives. During the day, she's the quiet scholarship student who keeps her head down and her grades just good enough to maintain her financial aid. But at night, in the empty classrooms of Westfield Prep, she becomes someone else entirely. She solves problems that would challenge graduate students. She develops her own proofs for theorems that took mathematicians centuries to discover. She lives in a world of pure logic and beauty that exists only in her mind. The internal conflict tears at her. Stay invisible and safe, or stand up and risk everything. If she solves Harrison's equation, there will be no going back to her carefully constructed anonymity. Everyone will know that the janitor's daughter is smarter than they are, smarter than some of their tutors, possibly smarter than Harrison himself. But as she stands there, feeling the weight of 24 pairs of eyes on her, Maya makes a choice that will change everything. She steps toward the whiteboard. The classroom falls completely silent. Even Harrison stops smirking as he watches this quiet girl approach the board with a determination that seems to come from somewhere deeper than teenage defiance. Maya picks up the marker, and for a moment, the only sound in the room is the squeak of the pen cap being removed. Then she begins to work. Her approach to the problem is methodical, systematic, beautiful in its logic. She starts by identifying the problem type, writing small notes to herself in the margins that demonstrate a level of mathematical maturity that shouldn't exist in a 16-year-old who's supposedly never taken advanced mathematics. Harrison's confident smirk begins to fade as Maya correctly identifies not just what type of problem this is, but the most elegant method to solve it. She's not just following rote procedures, she's thinking like a mathematician, seeing patterns and connections that even he hadn't fully considered when he created the problem. Around the room, the atmosphere shifts from cruel anticipation to confusion. The students who were ready to record Maya's humiliation are now watching something they don't understand. Her work is becoming increasingly sophisticated, each step building on the last with a precision that's almost artistic. Wait, is she actually doing this right? One student whispers to another. There's no way, comes the response, but there's uncertainty in the voice now. Maya continues working, her marker moving across the board with increasing confidence. She's in her element now, the place where she's always felt most at home. The numbers and symbols flow from her mind to the board like water, natural and effortless. Harrison watches with growing alarm as Maya works through the integration by parts, handles the trigonometric substitution flawlessly, and approaches the final steps of the solution. The confidence in his posture is evaporating, replaced by something that looks almost like panic. That's, he starts to say, then stops himself. But Maya hears the change in his voice, the first crack in his certainty. That's actually correct so far, Harrison finally admits, his voice barely above a whisper. The tension in the room is now electric. Half the class is recording, but no longer for the reasons they started. They're witnessing something extraordinary, the complete dismantling of every assumption they've ever made about intelligence, capability, and who deserves to be in that room. Maya completes the final integration with a flourish that's almost artistic. But she doesn't stop there. Instead of simply arriving at the correct answer, she does something that leaves even Harrison speechless. She provides an elegant alternative solution using a method so advanced that it's typically taught in graduate-level mathematics courses. On the whiteboard, Maya has just demonstrated not one, but two different approaches to the same complex problem. The first solution is textbook perfect. The second is the kind of mathematical creativity that separates true genius from mere academic achievement. She's not just solving problems, she's thinking like a mathematician, seeing connections and patterns that most people would never even recognize exist. The classroom falls into dead silence. It's the kind of quiet that feels heavy, suffocating, like the air itself is holding its breath. 23 students sit frozen, their phones still recording, But now for completely different reasons than they started. They're no longer capturing someone's humiliation. They're documenting the moment their entire worldview shifted. Harrison stares at the board, his face cycling through expressions like a broken slideshow. Confusion, disbelief, something that might be fear. His mouth opens and closes several times before any words come out. How did you, he starts, then stops. Where did you learn? Another pause. This is graduate-level methodology. Where on earth did you? Maya turns to face him, marker still in her hand, and delivers a response that cuts through every excuse, every assumption, every bias in that room with surgical precision. The same place everyone else does, by studying. 4 words. 4 simple words that contain the weight of years of hidden brilliance, of a mind that refused to be limited by other people's expectations, of a girl who taught herself advanced mathematics because no one else would give her the chance. But Richard Harrison's ego is a fortress that's taken 15 years to build, and it doesn't crumble easily. The idea that he's just been intellectually surpassed by someone he's already written off threatens the very foundation of everything he believes about teaching, about intelligence, about the natural order of his classroom. His defense mechanism kicks in immediately. Denial. You must have seen this problem before, Harrison says, his voice sharp with accusation. There's no way you could solve something this complex without prior exposure. This is clearly memorization, not understanding. The accusation hangs in the air like poison. He's calling her a cheater. In front of the entire class, this man who's supposed to be an educator is suggesting that Maya's brilliant solution is actually evidence of academic dishonesty. But Maya doesn't flinch. If anything, she seems to grow taller, more confident. Would you like me to solve a different problem? She asks, her voice steady and calm. Any problem you create, right now, on the spot. No prior exposure possible. The challenge in her voice is unmistakable. She's not just offering to prove herself. She's daring him to test her again. And everyone in that room can hear the quiet confidence that says she's not worried about whatever he might throw at her. Harrison's attempts to discredit her become increasingly desperate. This could be a fluke, he mutters, more to himself than to the class. Anyone can get lucky once. Mathematical ability requires consistency, deep understanding of underlying principles. But even as he speaks, something is shifting in the room. The students who started this period ready to mock the janitor's daughter are beginning to realize they're witnessing something extraordinary. This isn't about luck, or memorization, or academic dishonesty. This is about a level of mathematical ability that most of them, despite their expensive tutors and private school education, have never encountered before. Oh my God, one student whispers to another. She's actually brilliant. This is insane, comes another voice. How is she doing this? The social dynamics of the classroom are realigning in real time. Maya is no longer the outsider who doesn't belong. She's becoming the standard by which everyone else's abilities are suddenly being measured. Harrison, sensing that he's losing control of the narrative, makes a decision that will either restore his authority or destroy it completely. He turns back to the whiteboard and begins writing a new problem. But this time, he's not just drawing from advanced mathematics. He's incorporating physics, specifically quantum mechanics and wave function calculations that require not just mathematical skill, but deep understanding of physical principles that aren't even taught at the high school level. This problem is a monster. It combines differential equations with complex analysis and quantum mechanical principles that most undergraduate physics majors would struggle with. Harrison is essentially asking Maya to solve a problem that belongs in a graduate-level theoretical physics course. Maya stares at the new equation, and for the first time since this ordeal began, she hesitates. But her hesitation isn't because she can't solve it. She's hesitating because solving this problem will reveal the true extent of her abilities. There will be no hiding after this, no pretending to be just another average student who got lucky. Inside her mind, the final battle between self-protection and self-respect is taking place. For years, she's hidden her capabilities behind a mask of mediocrity because standing out felt too dangerous. Being exceptional as the janitor's daughter means becoming a target, means having every achievement questioned, Every success attributed to luck or charity rather than ability. But looking at this equation, Maya realizes that she's already past the point of no return. Half the class is recording this confrontation, and by now, videos are probably already spreading across social media. Her secret is already out. The only question now is whether she's going to own her brilliance or let Harrison's attempts at humiliation define her. Maya steps forward and picks up the marker again. What happens next is like watching a master artist at work. Maya doesn't just solve the problem, she explains it as she goes, breaking down complex quantum mechanical concepts in ways that make them accessible even to students who've never studied physics beyond the introductory level. The wave function here represents probability amplitude, she says as she works, her voice clear and confident. We're looking at the superposition of quantum states, which means we need to consider multiple possible outcomes simultaneously. The room is electric with tension. Students are frantically recording everything, posting to social media in real time. Maya Rodriguez, the girl they dismissed as the janitor's daughter who didn't belong, is casually explaining graduate-level physics concepts while solving equations that most of them couldn't even comprehend. Janitor's daughter starts trending before Maya even finishes the problem. Harrison watches in growing horror as Maya works through calculations that demonstrate not just mathematical ability, but a deep understanding of theoretical physics that rivals that of university professors. This isn't just intelligence, this is the kind of genius that appears perhaps once in a generation. The truth hits him like a physical blow. He's not dealing with a lucky guess or a fluke. He's witnessing genuine, unmistakable, undeniable genius. And for the past several minutes, he's been trying to humiliate and discredit her simply because of who her father is and what his own prejudices told him about what intelligence is supposed to look like. Maya completes the quantum mechanics problem with the same elegant precision she brought to the calculus equation. But this time, when she turns around, there's something different in her posture. She's no longer the quiet girl trying to stay invisible. She's someone who's stepped fully into her own power. And there's no going back. The silence in the room is deafening. But it's not the silence of shock anymore. It's the silence of awe, of recognition, of 23 privileged teenagers and one veteran teacher confronting the uncomfortable truth that everything they thought they knew about intelligence, about capability, about who deserves to be in that room, was wrong. Maya sets down the marker and turns to face the class. For the first time in this entire confrontation, she's the one in control. When she speaks, her voice carries the quiet authority of someone who has nothing left to hide. I've been studying university-level mathematics for 8 years, she says, her words cutting through the silence like a blade. Calculus, differential equations, linear algebra, abstract algebra, real analysis. I taught myself from textbooks I found in dumpsters, from online courses I accessed at the library, from academic papers I downloaded when the university servers were open to the public. The revelation hits the room like a shockwave. 8 years. This 16-year-old girl has been teaching herself advanced mathematics since she was 8 years old, mastering concepts that most of these students will struggle with in college if they encounter them at all. I've read Rudin's Principles of Mathematical Analysis 3 times, Maya continues, her voice growing stronger with each word. I've worked through every problem in Spivak's calculus. I know more about mathematical topology than most undergraduate math majors. But then Maya drops the bombshell that changes everything. And I scored perfect marks on every single placement test this school ever gave me. The words hang in the air like an accusation. Perfect marks. Every test. Maya didn't end up in regular mathematics classes because she wasn't capable of advanced work. She was placed there despite being more capable than anyone realized. But there were administrative concerns, Maya says, and the way she uses air quotes makes it clear exactly what those concerns were really about. Concerns that had nothing to do with my mathematical ability and everything to do with who I am and where I come from. 23 pairs of eyes turn to look at Harrison, whose face has gone pale. He knows what's coming. Everyone in that room is beginning to understand the scope of the injustice that's been taking place. Mr. Harrison was on the placement committee, Maya says, her voice steady, but carrying an edge that could cut glass. He made the recommendation that I be placed in remedial mathematics, despite my test scores, because he believed, and I quote from the committee notes, that students from economically disadvantaged backgrounds often struggle with the social adjustment required for advanced coursework. The room erupts in gasps and whispers. The students are realizing that they've just witnessed systematic discrimination disguised as educational policy. Maya Rodriguez wasn't kept out of advanced classes because she wasn't smart enough. She was kept out because someone decided that being the janitor's daughter made her unworthy of the same opportunities as everyone else. Harrison's face cycles through expressions of guilt, embarrassment, and growing panic. The comfortable narrative he's constructed about merit and natural ability is crumbling around him, replaced by the stark reality of his own prejudice. The atmosphere in the room shifts completely. Students who were ready to mock Maya an hour ago are now looking at her with something approaching reverence. They're beginning to understand that they've been handed opportunities on silver platters that Maya had to fight for every single day, and despite every obstacle placed in her path, she's still smarter than all of them. Harrison's defense mechanism kicks in one final time, but now it's pure desperation. His voice cracks as he tries to justify the unjustifiable. "If you're so smart," he says, his words coming out angry and defensive, "why didn't you say something earlier? Why didn't you prove your abilities before now?" It's the question of someone who's never had to hide their intelligence to survive. Someone who's never had to weigh the cost of standing out against the safety of staying invisible. Maya looks at him with something that might be pity, and when she responds, her words carry the weight of years of hidden brilliance and calculated silence. "Because I knew you'd never believe the janitor's daughter could outthink you." The simple truth of that statement hits Harrison like a physical blow. She's right, and everyone in that room knows it. If Maya had walked into his office a year ago, claiming to understand advanced mathematics, Harrison would have dismissed her as delusional. If she had requested placement in AP classes based on her abilities alone, he would have found a dozen reasons why it wasn't appropriate. Maya continues, her voice gaining power with each word. "I knew that no matter what I achieved, no matter how well I performed, you'd find a way to explain it away. Lucky guess. Good memory. Cheating. Anything except acknowledging that intelligence doesn't come with a price tag." The weight of his prejudice hits Harrison all at once. Every assumption he's made, every decision he's justified, every student he's underestimated, because they didn't fit his narrow definition of what intelligence looks like. Maya Rodriguez has just held up a mirror to 15 years of unconscious bias, and the reflection is ugly. Harrison tries to backpedal, his voice becoming increasingly desperate. "That's not. I never meant to." The placement system is designed to help students succeed at appropriate levels. But his justifications fall flat. Everyone in that room can see them for what they are. The scrambling of someone who's been caught red-handed, trying to rationalize the irrational. I mean Maya, you have to understand, there are protocols, procedures." Harrison continues, but his words are hollow. No protocol justified keeping a mathematical genius in remedial classes. No procedure explained away perfect test scores. While Harrison stumbles through his excuses, something extraordinary is happening around them. Student phones that started recording Maya's humiliation have captured something entirely different. They've documented the moment when systemic bias was exposed, when hidden genius was revealed, when the comfortable assumptions of privilege were shattered. Videos are already spreading across social media platforms. Janitor's daughter is trending nationwide. But more than that, students are sharing Maya's story with captions that recognize the injustice. "This girl is a genius, and they tried to hide her in remedial math." When talent doesn't match your expectations, intelligence doesn't require permission. Maya stands at the center of this viral moment with remarkable calm and dignity. She's not celebrating her victory or gloating over Harrison's humiliation. Instead, she carries herself with the quiet strength of someone who's finally been able to step into the light after years of hiding in the shadows. She gathers her worn backpack, slinging it over her shoulder with the same motion she's made thousands of times before. But this time, everything is different. She's no longer the invisible scholarship student trying not to make waves. She's Maya Rodriguez, mathematical genius, and everyone knows it. As she walks toward the classroom door, Maya pauses and turns back to face Harrison one final time. When she speaks, her words are measured, powerful, and unforgettable. Intelligence doesn't require permission, Mr. Harrison. It just needs opportunity. Maya walks toward the door, her head held high, her steps sure and confident. And then something magical happens. One student starts clapping, then another. Within seconds, the entire classroom erupts in thunderous applause. These students, who started the class period ready to mock her, who recorded her expecting to capture her humiliation, are giving Maya Rodriguez a standing ovation. They're applauding not just her mathematical brilliance, but her courage, her dignity, and her refusal to be diminished by their assumptions. As Maya reaches the door, the applause follows her into the hallway. Other classrooms hear the commotion, doors open, and soon the entire corridor is filled with the sound of recognition, of validation, of a school finally acknowledging the genius that was hiding in plain sight. Harrison remains standing at the front of his classroom, surrounded by equations that Maya solved effortlessly, facing students who will never again look at intelligence the same way. In the span of 30 minutes, everything he thought he knew about teaching, about merit, about who deserves opportunities, has been turned upside down. What happened next was nothing short of extraordinary. Within 3 hours of Maya walking out of that classroom, the videos had exploded across every social media platform imaginable. Janitor's daughter wasn't just trending, it was dominating the conversation nationwide. The footage was everywhere. Maya solving those impossible equations with mathematical elegance that left viewers speechless. Harrison's shocked face as his assumptions crumbled in real time. The moment when Maya revealed the truth about her perfect test scores and systematic exclusion from advanced classes. And that final devastating response, "Because I knew you'd never believe the janitor's daughter could outthink you." By evening, major news outlets were picking up the story. Hidden Genius exposed schools' discriminatory practices. The janitor's daughter who outsmarted the system. When bias meets brilliance, a viral mathematics lesson. But the real earthquake was happening behind closed doors at Westfield Prep Academy. Emergency board meetings were called, lawyers were consulted. The school's carefully crafted reputation for academic excellence was suddenly under a microscope, and what people were finding underneath wasn't pretty. Maya's phone started ringing before she even made it home. College recruiters who had never heard her name 12 hours earlier were now competing for her attention. Harvard, Stanford, Caltech, Princeton, MIT. Universities that typically required years of carefully orchestrated applications were calling directly, offering full scholarships, research opportunities, personal mentorship programs. But the most satisfying call came from the school administration. Within 24 hours, Maya received an official letter placing her immediately in every advanced mathematics and science course Westfield Prep offered. More than that, they were creating an independent study program specifically designed around her extraordinary abilities. Harrison's world, meanwhile, was collapsing in slow motion. The school board launched a full investigation into the placement committee's decisions over the past 5 years. How many other brilliant students had been overlooked because they didn't fit the expected profile? How many futures had been limited by unconscious bias disguised as educational policy? Harrison was placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. His 15-year career at Westfield Prep, his reputation as the department's star teacher, his comfortable certainty about how intelligence worked, all of it was crumbling because he couldn't see past his own prejudices. Fast forward 6 months, and Maya Rodriguez is standing on a graduation stage that seemed impossible just a year earlier. She's not just graduating from Westfield Prep, she's graduating as valedictorian, with a perfect 4.0 GPA in the most challenging course load the school offers. But more importantly, she's holding an acceptance letter to MIT with a full scholarship that covers not just tuition, but housing, meals, books, and even a stipend for research expenses. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology, one of the world's most prestigious universities, didn't just accept Maya Rodriguez, they recruited her. In the audience, Miguel Rodriguez sits in the front row, tears streaming down his weathered face. This man, who has spent the last 8 years working 3 jobs, sacrificing everything for his daughter's education, is watching her achieve something that seemed impossible when they first arrived in this country, with nothing but hope and determination. Miguel thinks about all those nights he spent cleaning empty classrooms while Maya studied at home. He remembers finding those discarded textbooks in dumpsters, never imagining that his 8-year-old daughter would use them to teach herself mathematics that most adults couldn't comprehend. He thinks about every sacrifice, every extra hour of work, every moment when he wondered if they were fighting for an impossible dream. Now he knows. No dream is impossible when you refuse to let others define your limitations. Harrison is also at the graduation ceremony, but his presence carries a different weight. The investigation concluded with mandatory bias training for all faculty, a complete overhaul of the student placement system, and Harrison's permanent removal from any role in academic placement decisions. He's been forced to confront some uncomfortable truths about himself, about the assumptions he's carried throughout his career, about the students he may have underestimated or overlooked because they didn't match his narrow definition of what academic excellence looks like. Watching Maya receive award after award, Harrison experiences something he's never felt before: genuine remorse. Not just embarrassment at being proven wrong, but deep regret for the opportunities he may have denied to students who deserved better. Westfield Prep Academy has implemented the Maya Rodriguez Protocol, a comprehensive review system that ensures no student's potential can be overlooked due to socioeconomic bias. Anonymous testing, multiple evaluation methods, and mandatory bias training for all faculty involved in student placement. Maya's story didn't just change her own life, it changed the entire system. But perhaps the most beautiful transformation is happening right now, in a small tutoring center that Maya established in her old neighborhood. Every Saturday morning, she works with underrepresented students who are brilliant but overlooked, kids who remind her of herself just a few years ago. Here, surrounded by children whose society has already written off as not college material, Maya is proving that genius doesn't wear a uniform. It doesn't come with a price tag. Sometimes it's hidden in plain sight, just waiting for someone to see past their assumptions and give it the opportunity to shine. There's 8-year-old Carlos, whose parents clean office buildings at night and who's teaching himself algebra using library books. There's 12-year-old Aisha, daughter of a single mother who works 2 jobs, who's already reading physics textbooks for fun. There's 15-year-old David, whose father is a construction worker, who solved every calculus problem Maya has given him. Each of these children carries the same spark that Maya carried, the same hunger for knowledge, the same brilliant potential, the same determination to rise above circumstances that others use to define their limitations. Maya looks at these young faces and sees herself. But more than that, she sees the future. A future where intelligence is recognized and nurtured, regardless of zip code or bank account balance. A future where the next hidden genius doesn't have to wait until they're 16 to be discovered. As she helps Carlos work through a particularly challenging algebra problem, Maya reflects on her journey. From that cramped apartment where she studied by lamplight, to that viral confrontation in Harrison's classroom, to the MIT campus where she'll soon begin her studies in theoretical mathematics. Her story isn't just about one brilliant girl overcoming the odds. It's about every child who's ever been underestimated, every student who's been told they don't belong, every genius who's been hidden by society's assumptions about what intelligence looks like. Maya Rodriguez proved that when you combine natural brilliance with unshakable determination, no barrier is too high to overcome. Her story reminds us that in a world quick to judge and categorize, true genius often comes from the most unexpected places. Have you ever had your potential underestimated because of where you came from or what others assumed about you? Maya's story proves that their limitations don't have to become your reality. If this story moved you, if you believe that every child deserves the chance to reach their full potential, regardless of their circumstances, then subscribe to this channel and share Maya's story. Because somewhere out there, there's another 16-year-old studying mathematics by flashlight, another brilliant mind waiting to be discovered, another Maya Rodriguez ready to change the world, if we just give them the chance. Never let anyone dim your light. Share this story if you believe every child deserves a chance to shine.